his shot at bursting the Wolverine dream.
Yes, if Wayne was the big buck, I guess, Kirk, you're the no buck.
What does that mean?
It means you fanned up
Hey, I don't shoot pimpy bucks, okay? If you can't find a trophy, you shoot a doe and you help with the management process, so I heard.
Wait.
But with your illiteracy, you would say something ignorant and literal like that.
Next year.
Welcome back, Michigan State. Michigan State. You
pummeled those Illini.
Illinois, you beat a little pimpy buck there in Illinois.
That was a tough Illinois.
Nobody.
They're old.
Nobody could have predicted that after 50 years of disappointment one way or the other that Michigan would stand on the brink of a national championship. Now my question is, would it be equally surprising if they didn't come out with a national championship at this point?
Well, yeah. I mean, they're obviously they're #1 in both polls right now, and they've got a better chance than anyone. I think Michigan, considering that Ohio State and Penn State is in the same league with them, the Big Ten Conference is the best conference. They go undefeated. They got to be #1. I still think, though, they're not the best team in the country, but they deserve to be #1.
You just don't want to give them credit, too.
Well, I give them credit. They won them all.
Well, they're in the driver's seat. They've earned their right to be #1. And like you said, they've beat some good teams. The Big Ten is a good conference, but who knows? You know, the styles are so different.
They are.
The conservative style is just so frustrating with them. You see these teams, you know, Washington State throwing the ball, Florida State, and we gained 42 yards.
Wait.
What you mean we, Kimosabe? What's that we? You're not on the team.
When they're not #1, it's them.
Michigan and the Big Ten, they always talk about smash mouth football. They play a more physical game. I think they play a more physical game. You look at Florida State game, I mean, these guys, they play a speed game. It's a wide open pro offense.
The Big Ten Conference had the best football this year, top to bottom in teams, but it had the worst group of quarterbacks of any league in college football. And that's one of the things that when you look at Charles Woodson and why he's going to be 1 or 2 in the Heisman Trophy. There's no doubt about that. But the reason I don't put him #1 on my ballot is he went against a group of quarterbacks in the Big Ten that just didn't measure up this year.
Critical Ohio State mistakes in the Michigan defense, I think, made the difference in this game. David Boston, like a little jostling there with Woodson. He brought his left his mouth and his game in Columbus. And John Cooper even balled him out after his 1 touchdown pass. And he certainly got nailed near the end of the game.
Yeah, he paid the price, the Terry Glenn price of talking, the Walter Stanley price. I mean, this is tough football, and
everything
he didn't back it up.
Everything to lose.
It was silly. It was silly from his team.
And here's Woodson's interception, also the punt return, as well as the good job he did on Boston.
You know, it's hard to say how good Charles Woodson is, but he's just a huge impact player. That's where the value is.
You know, if you were starting a college team right now, who would you take? I mean, Michigan's got a solid defense. They came at Ohio State all day. Ohio State's defense, though, would have to say is just as good as Michigan's.
No doubt. The punt return was a difference in the game.
No doubt. So who would you take on your team? Would you take Peyton Manning? Would you take Charles Woodson, or would you take Andy Katzenmoyer on your football team to start a team? I mean, that's different. That's a different philosophy of what you want. As you watch Michigan start to celebrate here, what made that team go this year? Was it Brian Griese, or what?
Their defense. No, that was their defense. There's no question about it. And I know you. Yeah, go ahead.
Go with the matchups right there.
Well, the point is, Michigan still could get screwed here at beating a #10 team of 2 and 3 playing the Alliance Bowl. That's the fear that we have.
Remember that as you look at that Alliance thing, as you're looking at Tennessee, they still have 2 more games remaining. They still have to beat Vanderbilt, which, Woody Woodenhofer has done a good job defensively, and they still have to win the SEC Conference Championship.
If Michigan wins the Rose Bowl, they're going to be #1.
They're going to be #1, at least in one of the polls, probably both.
And they will face a quarterback that Mike Price, the coach of Washington State, says is far and away the best in college football.
Better than Peyton Manning?
That's Ryan Leaf.
He may have more raw tools than Peyton Manning. Long term, he's 6'6", maybe close to 250 pounds. Plays like a linebacker. He has what they call the Fab Five in receivers. They're going to play 5 of them a lot of times, 4 of them most of the game. Michael Black is their running back, and he is a great player. And
Chris Jackson's pretty tough, too.
They have 5 of them, Eli and Kirk. You'd love to play in this offense, I'll tell you that. They run fades and slants all day.
Just keep chucking it up
there. Keep chucking it, and that guy, you can hit him all day, but he's going to keep coming back. He plays like a tough linebacker. It's the typical Rose Bowl matchup, is the solid Big Ten team going against the air-happy Pac-10. It'll be fun to watch.
And you don't think they're going to match up good against that attack, do you?
I think they'll match up okay. I think Washington State does not have the depth of athletes that Michigan does. I think Michigan caught another break, frankly. I think UCLA would have been a much tougher foe for them to play in the Rose Bowl. They had a better team. UCLA might be 5th or 6th in the poll, and they're going to catch a 10 team. So, you know, it's what I think is, well, I wish this was a year from now, because then the Alliance would take over and Michigan would be playing Nebraska.
That would be a much better scenario.
Wouldn't that be a good game?
Yeah, it's got to be done.
Play it on the field. So who'd you take?
Who do I take?
Who would you take to start your team? That's the argument. Would you take a corner in Charles Woodson? Would you take Katzenmoyer? Or would you take a quarterback in Leaf or Manning?
To start a college team?
Yeah.
I think I would take Woodson because he plays both ways.
He went to my school.
He plays both ways.
You got to take a quarterback. I think it's one of the most important, probably the most important position on team. You got to take a quarterback. They're all great athletes.
Right, but again, I guess the opposite argument is, hey, Michigan went undefeated with Brian Griese, a solid guy who doesn't make a lot of mistakes.
Right, but there's more on that defense than Charles.
Absolutely, that's what I think.